What's up, Wayne Barron here with ArtEffects.net, and we are inside of Adobe After Effects, and this is lesson number 1 of our Generate plugin for inside of plugin to After Effects. So what we're going to be doing here today is this right here. Let's try that again. As you can see, we have lightning coming in from our left down to the house. And then whenever it strikes, it illuminates the inside the house. It's not touching the house per se, but it's illuminating the inside the house, sort of like what lightning usually does. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First thing we want to do is we want to import our file. So let's go ahead and import our dark haunted PSD file. And we want to enable layer styles and composition retain layer sizes. Click OK. Alright, and as you can see, it created a new composition for us. So let's double click on that, and let's get rid of the first and last layers. We do not need them. Okay, our first layer is our house. Click on the enter key and name it house. Our second layer is going to be the grass. Hit enter, type in grass. And then our third layer is going to be the sky. Hit enter and then type in sky. Alright, so with all the layers selected, let's make them all 3D. And so we want to take our sky, and do not mess with the order. If you mess with the order, then it's going to mess up the way things look. As you can see, there's a straight line going through, and that's not natural. Make sure that the house is first, grass is second, and sky is at the bottom. So now with the sky chosen, so let's go ahead and move our sky into the background. Click right here at the bottom edge, hold down shift key, and then bring it back up and move up to the top. That looks good. Now from our house, we want to move it towards us, and then grab a hold of shift and then bring it back down, and that looks good. So that's where we wanted at. Now let's come over here and add in a new solid. White background, click OK, and we're going to make it smaller. We're just going to place it right over here, right over our house. We're going to drop our solid right here between house and grass. Just going to put it into the background. Now we're going to zoom into it and come over, and we're going to make this full so we can actually see it really good. And to zoom in, use the scroll wheel on your mouse, and to move it around, we click on the scroll wheel to move. So you can scroll in and then move it around like so. Okay, so now let's scroll into it, bring this down, grab a hold of the pen tool, and what we want to do is that we want to mask around here. We only want the lights, so we do not want this big white background. So let's go ahead and click right up here, there, and there you go. Alright, come over here. We no longer need to see the mask, so just select the show or toggle mask and get rid of our mask. Next thing that we want to do is we want to add in another solid. Well, let's go ahead and zoom back out here. Add in another solid right here. We want to name this lightning. Now come over here to effects, generate advanced lightning, and that's going to add our lightning in. So now we want to choose directional and bring it down to anywhere. Now let's go ahead and select here at the bottom, hold down the shift key to keep the proportions and make it smaller, drag it over here to the top. Let's hold down the shift key again, make it a little bit bigger. That looks good. Now we want to drag our lightning right below our white solid, and we're just going to name our white solid. This is going to be our house blur. Okay, so with our lightning chosen, we're going to make some settings. Okay, let's bring this up and let's expand our lightning. We want to go to our transform first, and let's move out to our 119. So let's type in 119, and we want to set the opacity to 0 and then go to 121. and then we want to set the opacity to 100, and then go to 310, and we want to set keyframe for 100, and then go to 324, and then we want to set the opacity back down to 0. So basically it's going to have our lightning coming onto the scene, as you can see there. It's going to have it coming on, and then it's going to fade it out there at the end. Okay, let's go ahead and drop this down to about half so that it will render a little bit better without looking so bad. Okay, so now let's come over here to our effects, drop it down, go to advanced lighting, and then expand expert settings. Okay, so now we can just bring this up. One thing we're going to be messing with is our forking, our minimum fork distance, termination threshold, fork strength, and fork variation. These are the areas that we are going to be messing with, and my mouth does not seem to want to work today. So let's go ahead and go to 129, and we want to set our termination threshold. Go ahead and create a keyframe for it and drop it down to 0. Now we want to go to 205, and we want to set the termination threshold to 2%. Okay, now let's come over to 208, and we want to set our fork strength to 19%. So let's come down here, change this to 19. Next one, we want to go to 211, and we want to set our minimum fork distance to 200, and then go down to termination threshold. We want to change this to a 4. Then go to 217, and we want to change our minimum fork distance to 100. Now let's go to 217. Oops, sorry. Let's go to 218. And we want to change our forking, which is right here. We want to change it to 22. Okay. Now we want to come down to our fork strength, which is right here. We want to change this to 60. Let's go to 223. And we want to change our forking to 4. And then our fork variation, we want to change it to 20, which is already set. Then we want to go to 229. And we want to change our fork variation to 100. And then to 318. We want to change our termination threshold to 3, and then go to 328, and let's change it to 1. Okay, so that will take care of our lightning. As you can see now, our lightning comes on like lightning should. Instead of just being one piece, it now brings itself on really nicely, and then as it fades out, it goes away like lightning should. So next thing we want to do is that we want to add in a little bit of color. So let's come over here to effect, color correction, and let's go down to change color. So we're going to go over to 125, and we want to do our lightness transform. So let's come down here and lightness transform. We want to set it at 0%, which is already done. Now let's go over to 2, and we want to change our matching tolerance, which is right here. Leave it at 15. Now let's go to 204. We want to change lightness transform to 11. Go to 208. And our matching tolerance, we want to change this to 32. Then go to 221. And we're going to change our lightness transform to 28. And then let's go to 229. Let's change our lightness transform to 14, 305. We're going to change it to 26, and then go to 312, and we're going to change it to 9. So that right there is going to make, as you can see, it's got a very cool lighted effect. So this is what it looks like before and after. So it's got a really cool glow effect, which is basically what lightning does. Okay, so that takes care of our lightning. So now let's come over here to our house, and we want to come over and go Effect, Blur and Sharpen, Fast Blur. Okay, now let's drag this down. Let's go to Transform first. We want to go to 209. And let's change our opacity to 0. And then let's go to 210. And we're going to change it to 50. And then let's go to 318. And let's change it to 50, which is already there. Go and create a keyframe. And then go to 323. And change it to 0. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now let's go to Effects and come down to Fast Blur. And now let's go over to 210. And we want to create a keyframe here, leave it at 0. Now let's go to 212. And we want to change this to 500. Now let's go to 214. And change this to 1000. And now 218. Change it to 1250. Now let's go to 227. Change it to 250. Let's go to 308. Change it to 1250. Let's go to 318. Change it to 812. And then last one is 323. Let's change it back to 0. So this is basically what it looks like. Let's grab a hold of our house. Actually, our sky. As you can see right here, our sky is actually coming through our house. So let's go ahead and if we hide both our house blur and our house, as you can see, we've got this area right here in the back. And so what we want to do is that we want to have that black area place where our house is at. So let's go ahead and take our sky and move it up to about there, and then that right there will cover our black. So making sure that the black part right here, you can actually go in, take this into Photoshop, or you can just go in and create a mask. So have the sky selected right here and just go in and create a mask around here, and then come in to our mask and change this to subtract, and now it's basically the way that you want it. So as we click here, and then we can actually drag this down like so. And now, and there we go. Alright, Wayne Barron here with Inside of Plugins to After Effects. Y'all have a good one. Bye bye.